Well, hello, and welcome to Family Game Night Live. I'm Emily, your host with Firefly Toys and Games, and thank you all for joining me tonight, this Saturday at 5 p.m. We are so happy, I am so happy, to bring you this night's series of games, which is called Family Games Big and Little. Now, you might wonder what I'm talking about, so I'm going to give you just a brief showing of some games before we get started showing you some demos, so you have an idea of what we're getting ready to talk about. So I have two different displays. The first one I'm going to show you before we get started. The last one I'll show you towards the end like I always do. So thanks for joining me for Family Game Night Big and Littles. To give you an example, like last week I showed you the Karuba series from Haba, and I've got them right over here in the corner. Karuba is the Family Game Night series from Haba, and they also produced a junior version. The junior version made it easier for the younger ones to kind of get a handle on what Karuba was all about. Same thing with 5 Crowns. You got 5 Crowns in Junior, Set in Junior. We have My First Castle Panic, which is going to be a very simple way of kids being able to learn about Castle Panic without jumping all in and defeating all kinds of monsters before they have no clue what they're doing. These are going to be based on shapes and colors, so it's a little bit easier for them to kind of recognize the cooperation aspect and learning how to defeat monsters that way. Ticket to Ride, the exact same way. I've got Ticket to Ride and First Journey back there. Magic Maze has also come out with Magic Maze Kids. Thank you, Dude Games. So that one's also an easier way to do it. One that I'm going to show you tonight is Carcassonne. We've got the original Carcassonne, tried and true classic for Z-Man. And they also produced a My First Carcassonne. Now, those who have bought Carcassonne before, this is a remake of the front cover only. The inside of the game is the exact same gameplay. So this is what we're going to talk about tonight. Family Games Big and Little. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and take you over here and show you one of the games from Smart Games. This one is called Chicken Shuffle. Let's see if I can turn it around. Okay. And we got a different angle this time. Hopefully y'all can see a little bit more of the game board. All right. So right here in front of you is called Chicken Shuffle. This is the junior version. It's really cute. I'm going to turn it up so you can see. It's a 3D variation. You can actually touch and you can actually move the little hens. They're so cute. They can actually peck. So this is the junior version of the classic Chicken Shuffle that we've got. Now, the pictures are still cute. You've got the different faces of the chickens over here. But the goal of the game, whether you get the classic or you get the junior version, the goal of the game is to get all of your chickens sitting on top of the eggs. So what you need to do is your classic shuffleboard until you get all of your chickens aligned onto an egg. Now these are probably going to have to go right here because there's 2 of them. So we got to see if we can maneuver them all until we get all the chickens covering the eggs. Let's see if we can't. All right, so this is supposed to be a very simple level. As you all know from experience with watching me, sometimes it's a little interesting, but you get the idea. So you're going to continue shuffling until you get those chickens aligned in the proper manner. Chicken Junior, of course, is so much simpler, and like I said, you do have the cute little chickies and the little mommy hens. Now there is a possibility. So let's just go ahead and try to figure this one out real quick. Now the little chickens will not cover the egg because they just hatched, but the mama hen can definitely cover the egg, and if you need to split them in the middle, you can do that as well. So that's just an idea. Now, so that you know, this is great for travel. It's very easy to pick up and go. They are numbered at the bottom, and you have so many different variations in this game. They are double-sided, so you have plenty of opportunities to rack your brain at trying to figure out the puzzle. Now, the ones that have the less eggs on it look like they might be easier, but I promise you it's not. I jumped to those a couple of times, and they're definitely not easy. One thing to keep note really quickly is if you end up placing your challenge card into the grid, be sure that the number is placed in the bottom right-hand corner, and the Smart Games name is actually on the bottom. Otherwise, you might have a difficult time trying to win the challenge because you might have it on backwards. Okay, so let's move on to the next game, and this one is tried and true with our Haba series. This one is called Orchard. Now, I do have the My First Orchard set out front first. Let's see if we can maneuver so you can see the majority of it here. All right, and what we're trying to do is we are trying to gather all of our fruit out of the orchard before our crow or raven, whichever one you want to call our little blackbird here, takes our fruit away. It's a cooperative game, so we need to work together. We do have 5 different times that we can roll the bird before we actually lose the game. Once a turn, you're going to roll the die, and whatever it says, you have a community basket, so we work on sharing is caring. Okay, so you get to pick a fruit based on the color. So this one we have a pear. For those of you with your littles, it will also encourage color recognition, fruit recognition, being able to share. You talk about gardening. You can go as deep as you want to with your little ones about the care of your garden, making sure it stays watered. We have a watering can over here. Make sure that you gather all the fruits very carefully. We've got our bucket over here, making sure to take out the mushrooms and the weeds that might cause problems, and then being able to keep them safe and secure, maybe in a basket with the like fruit to each other like we have in the apples over here. So just an idea. Love learning with those little ones because they just take it all in. But anyway, so my very first orchard, you roll the die and you select whatever it shows. If you happen to show the basket die, you can pick one of whichever fruit that you would like to have and place it in the basket. The goal, again, is to get rid of all of the fruit before the birdie reaches the orchard. So if you roll a birdie die, you're going to place him on the path, and each and every time you roll him, he's going to move up. If he reaches this last space, your birdie ate the fruit before you were able to get there. For those of you that have a little bit older children, we do have the Little Orchard, which is a little bit more advanced than the My First Orchard. And we also have, and I've got it tucked over here to the side, is the actual base orchard that was set up for Family Game Night as well. So we do have, of course, the smaller baskets. You can tell from the size difference. These were definitely meant for the smaller hands. And these, you don't want to have your 1-year-old in the mix with this, of course. Might be having to pull those cherries out of the throat. So save these for some of the older children, but you do have 4 different baskets. Now, Orchard will play up to 8 players. Of course, you can fit as many people around the table as you possibly can. So you will have to share the baskets inevitably if you have more than 4 players. So you're also going to work on your sharing skills there. You're going to have the same size die. It's going to be the exact same colors, all the same things. So your basket is anything. Your bird, instead of moving up the orchard, we have a 9-piece puzzle that we're trying to fill in. Now, this is in the middle of the game board for sake of space. I've got my board folded up over there because it takes over the entire area here. But this is what our birdie puzzle will actually look like if you get it complete, which you don't want to do. Because, as you can... Oh, his foot's backwards. There we go. Can't have a mangled foot. Okay, as you can see from the picture, he loves his cherries. So you don't want him to get the fruit, so you need to make sure to gather all of your fruit before the birdie puzzle gets completed. Instead of having 4 of each type, which we have here, we're going to have a total of 10 of each of the type, and you can see how small they are. So here's a size difference for you. Quite a bit different, but like I said, you do have 10 of each, so you're looking at gathering 40 fruits before the birdie reaches his completion on his puzzle. But I love the Orchard series. It's a great and easy game to play, especially for families gathering together. If you have like 3, 4, 5-year-olds, you're going out of that preschool stage, this is a perfect time to start introducing them to things like Orchard, so that you can kind of get them into the board playing strategy games. So speaking of strategy games, we're going to go on to Carcassonne. This is going to be quick tonight, guys, because I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of everything. My first Carcassonne is really, really cute. And those of you who know me, I love my board games. I grew up playing board games with my family. My mom and dad taught me really well how to use those thinking skills and those strategies early on in life, and actually grew up on Carcassonne. So this one is a real sentimental game for me, but they actually came out with a My First Carcassonne. So for those of you who have younger children, you're able to play with them and kind of get them an understanding of what the game might be like, which is why I love doing Big Littles tonight, show the difference between adults and the kids' games. So on your turn, what you're going to do is you're going to draw a tile very similar to Carcassonne, and I'll show you actual Carcassonne in a moment. But we always start with the tile in the middle, and you draw a tile. Now, the thing about My First is every single tile is always going to have a road access to somewhere. As you can see, they'll have different characters on it. You'll have different farm animals. But ultimately, you're going to be able to place it anywhere that you want to, so long as you abide by the adjacent rule. Now, what matters with the placement is you might have roads to stop or roads to extend. So you're going to want to watch to see whether you are extending a new road, a road that's already started, or you're ending a road altogether. Now, what is the goal of this game? You need to get rid of all of your little meeples. The way that you do that is you actually complete a road. Let's say I go ahead and place this tile on top. We actually have a start to this road in the middle, and if I'm yellow, my job is to complete the road because I can't place my kid until I have a road complete. Let's say a blue player comes along and they didn't pay attention and they went ahead and ended my road. That means that I can place a kid on the road. Once I get rid of all 8 of my kids, I've won the game. But you can extend roads as far as you want to, make them loop around. But if you come to a wall or a building, or if you come to, I think we have some ponds, we have several different tiles that you might be able to come across. So once you end a road, you're able to calculate and see whether it's yours or someone else's, and you're able to place the kid on the board. And like I said, whoever has run out of kids wins the game. So very, very simple version. And just to show you guys, I don't normally leave the rule book on the table, but I'm going to show you how simple that this is. Cute artwork on the front. And here's one page. Here's the second page. That's it. That's all to the rule book. Nice and simple. Those of you who kind of get bogged down with rule books, definitely not this game. All right, so since we talked about My First Carcassonne, let's go ahead and venture out into Z-Man's original game, Carcassonne. And I will show you the basis as to why I see the similarity between these two games and why it's so easy to play My First in comparison to the original. No, you're not going to have any point scoring in the My First, but in Carcassonne you do. So we actually have a point tracker over here on the side, and it has a way to keep track of what everybody's point system is, instead of having to remember it in your head. So everyone is going to put their meeple over here on 0 before we get started. We are going to have our starting tile. Thank you, Z-Man, for coming up with this. You do have 2 different colors on the Carcassonne tiles. If you have the expansion that has the river in it, all the river tiles are this darker color because those have to be placed first in the game, which are kind of your starting tile to the game, so there's no need to have this set aside. But for all other purposes, this is your starting tile if you don't play the river, and then all of the other tiles actually have a lighter colored background to it. So it makes it easy to differentiate which one is your first one. So the way you play Carcassonne is you draw a tile, just like My First, and then you decide how to place it. Now, unlike My First, not every side of the tile can be placed anywhere. So I can't place a city next to a road or a road dead-ending into a field. It has to match territory-wise, kind of like King Domino. I have to place city on city or road on road. Now, this is a junction right here, which means that this is how the road ends. If you were able to cap this road off, if your person was landing on that road, you'd be able to score for the road. But just to go through a couple tiles to show you what it might look like, if the next person goes, they want to build a major city. Let's say that red wants to build a city. They get to place their meeple on the city tile. You don't have to play a meeple, but if you do, you only place one, and it has to be on the tile that you've currently claimed. If yellow goes, they cannot add a meeple to this tile if they lay the city here because someone's already claimed. So they can be something like I would do, and do something like that. It's not technically connected because there is a space here, but if something ever gets filled in, then there's a rivalry that happens, and that is so much fun to go through. But anyway, so you're welcome to explore different options in Carcassonne. Whenever a road or city gets complete, you automatically gain those points for them. For roads, it's 1 point per tile that it's touching, and then you get your meeple back. On the cities, it's 2 per, and then you get an additional 2 points for each coat of arms you have in your city. But Carcassonne is so much fun. It's a very simple game to play. And like I said, if you've got little ones in your house, then My First is a great way to begin introducing the concept of Carcassonne itself. Instead of running out of kids, your goal is to have the most points in the game. and you will calculate those points after you run out of the tiles stack. Just to show you, I'm going to tell you a couple more options, and I didn't pull all of these out for demo because I just, number one, don't have the time or the space to do this. But I did want to show you one more really awesome one. This one is called True Balance, and we actually had a representative from the company come by and show us how to play this, and all of our staff that was there that day played with this crazy thing, and it was so much fun. But I will tell you, great to learn about physics. Great for keeping your hands busy, great for focus and attention. If you have someone who's a little jittery and you just need them to sit down and be still for a minute, this is a great way to kind of get them to just settle down for a second. But this is True Balance. This is the junior version right here. And the goal of the game, using one hand, of course I can't do this and hold the camera at the same time, this is hilarious, is to try to get all of them lined up perfectly and for it to stay still. Now, one of our staff members, I have to say, she was able to do one of these in under 2 minutes, and I was a little jealous. Takes me a while sometimes to get it synced up. But just so that you can see, there's actually a small magnet in between each one of them, and it's very tiny. But if you're very gentle and turn them just the right way, they will all sync up on the magnet, and then you've won the challenge. Now, if you happen to master the top fairly quickly, oh, I almost had it, did you see that? If you actually happen to master it top side, you can turn it and do it upside down. Now, remember, you have to only use one hand when doing the True Balance. And again, this shows my balancing efforts because I'm terrible at balance. This is the junior version. We also have the big version. And this one is massive. It's a little bit heavier than the True Balance Junior, so if you'd like a good challenge, I highly encourage you taking a look at that. Going off of our big and littles, besides True Balance on this table, we also have Catan and Catan Junior. So those of you who know the base Catan, you're just doing basic resource building, or resource managing rather, and trying to gain victory points off of different placements and different upgrades to your network as laid out there. It is somewhat of a pressure luck game because you do have that dice rolling aspect in here, and depending on how the dice roll depends on what resources you get to collect. And turn those in for upgrading or buying new things or gaining cards, development cards that might allow you to gain victory points. So I do enjoy Catan. For those of you who have littles, of course, we do have our junior version. And this one is a little bit easier to play. And of course, it's fun because it's pirate themed. Who doesn't love exploring like a pirate? So you actually are going to have pirate ships and caverns in here. And you get to go exploring all these different islands and docking at these ports and being able to gather them based on dice rolls. Again, just like the regular Catan, but in a much, much simpler fashion. Little bit cuter for the eyes, so a little bit more attentive for those kids. I know that we have done Concept Kids as a video before, not necessarily a family game night highlight, but I did do a fairly intense video on Concept Kids and some of the educational value you can have on Concept Kids. We do have the Stay Still True Balance. There we go. We do have the original here, and the original concept is someone is going to gather a card. Depending on the complexity that they would like to achieve, then they get a word, and then they have to claim on the board different characteristics and try to get the rest of the people to discover what exactly they've drawn. So if you're doing, for an example on here, you've got a bee, you need to show that it's an animal, so you need to take your little marker and plop it on the animal. You're going to take another marker and show that the colors are yellow and black. I mean, that's, you know, bumblebees, most of the colors. You need to show that it's a very small creature and that it can fly. So someone who's smart would be able to guess, oh, it's a bee because they fly, they're yellow and black, and they're small. So being able to guess, that's really, really fun. I am an adult, but I personally love the Concept Kids version. It's the animal theme. So in the original game, you can have any kind of clues. In Concept Kids Animals, you only get animal clues. So you have different characteristics of the animal. This is also great for education, guys, whether you're at home or trying to go back to school. you have characteristics of habitat, so where they might live. Over here in the corner, you do have their different movement options. You've got like digging underground, you've got flying, you've got jumping, climbing, all of these different things, depending on what animal you have. Nighttime, wow, I'm backwards. Daytime creature or nighttime creature, the different color schemes that they might have, and other characteristics about them, including their size, what kinds of fur or teeth or claws or tails or any of that. And then over here is the meat or the leaf, whether they are carnivores or herbivores. And if they're both, you'd be able to select both of those because you have plenty of these orange little cubes to highlight which one it is. It is so much fun getting the kids to try to get the parents or the rest of the family members to try to guess what animal they've drawn. So if you draw a tiger, you want to show that he lives in the jungle, that he eats meat, that he's striped, and he's orange. And it's so funny watching kids and adults play this game. It is starting at ages 4, so those littles are able to jump in really, really early with that game as well. Of course, we've shown My First Orchard in Orchard, and then over here in the corner is Scythe and My Little Scythe. For those of you who love the intense strategy games like Scythe, it's kind of hard for your small one to get involved with such a massive game. So Stonemaier came out with My Little Scythe, and this just allows you to kind of go down to the basics of the game and add cute little miniatures, of course. That way you kind of get an idea of the whole area control and being able to utilize abilities and things like that in it. So just wanted to show you a couple of those options. As always, there are so many more games out there that we could highlight, but for sake of time and space, we're going to stop there tonight. But I thank you all so much for joining me. As always, if any of these games have interest you or you want to know more about them, please feel free to reach out. All of our contact is on this page. And I hope you all have an awesome weekend. And I will see you guys next Saturday at 5 p.m. for Family Game Night Live. Bye.